over the rainbow, where dreams are better than life. There's nobody to save. I sit alone with my head through the sky. Yes, I'm wondering, never asking why. I just see inside, see inside.
Hello, and welcome to the Mechanics of the Maya. And here on the Mechanics of the Maya, we're going to begin our studies of the body graph and our journey through the matrix of it, the circuitry of it. We're going to begin with mind. I think mind is one of those core elements in life. It is the essence of what keeps us away from the possibility of who we can be. The not-self mind, its distortions. So much about the nature of the mind is something that is really mysterious to most human beings. So few human beings truly understand how the mind actually works. And without getting into discussions about the nature of the not-self and the influencing on conditioning, I want to take you through, well, it really is a journey. You know, I've always talked about the channels in the body graph as being roads and tunnels. Everything for me about looking at the body graph is that it is a mystery. It is this wonderful, wonderful mystery that can be, in essence, easily decoded as you gain knowledge about the way in which the construct operates. But everything about human design is visual. It's visual. The body graph carries with it all the information that you need about the nature of what it is to be you. And as such, gives you the opportunity to be able to experiment with what the mechanics show you. That is your strategy and authority. All right, so we begin our journey with mind, and we begin, well, right in the middle. Okay? We begin in the middle because we begin with the stream of knowing, You can see it up here, you know, starting off with that shiny yellow triangle at the top, the head center, and through the G center and down to the throat through the center. Now, it's an interesting thing about the way in which the mind is constructed. That is, everything about the nature of a stream, and a stream has actually 4 parts to it. That is, it has a beginning, and the beginning is always in a pressure center. I'm going to take you through a journey of many, many streams within the body graph itself, streams of awareness. And here in this stream of awareness, it all begins in the head center in the pressure. Think about the way your mind operates. The way in which it operates is that first, information has to come in. The information is taken in through the neocortex, and it's stored in the deep gray areas of the brain. In essence, when you're looking at the graphic presentation in the Rave body graph, the ajna center represents your neocortex. That is the frontal lobes, you know, where the conceptualizing process takes place, what we attribute to the ajna center. But the head center is about the deep gray areas of the brain, the storage area. Now, the thing to understand about this storage, as we build it up, as we move through our life experience, is that it creates a pressure, and the pressure that it creates is a pressure to resolve in one way or another the experience, to resolve it. And that resolution is something that succeeds only in expression. In other words, there's a journey to be taken from the head center to the throat center through the 4 gates in the stream. So we start with the pressure, the 61, inner truth. Inner truth. I love the hexagram chop. You know, the 6 lines of the hexagram. If you look at the 61, you'll see that at the bottom it has 2 yang lines. And at the top, it has 2 yang lines. But in the middle, it has 2 yin lines. Inner truth. And the inner truth lies within the form itself. And what we're dealing with the 61 is a pressure to know, but not what to know. Now, there's something interesting about individuality, because we're dealing here with individuality, is that individuality is very, very different from the collective, because the collective is visual. The collective mind is a visual mind, but the individual mind is acoustic, And the 61st gate is an acoustic pressure. It is the sounds of things. It is a frequency rather than a visual collection. And it's a pressure, and it sits there, and it pressures, and it pressures, and it pressures. Individuality has a dilemma. The dilemma is inherent in the chemistry. The chemistry brings melancholy. It is here in this stream that we find mental sadness or mental creativity. And so much of the sadness is rooted in the fact that individuality is not a flow but a pulse. It's there, and it's not. And it's there, and it's not. And sometimes it's not there for a long time. A long time. The 61 with the pressure being there, but it's a pressure to know what is not known. It can make people really silly. Well, it can make them outright crazy. It can. This pressure to know, I know there's something to know, but I don't know what that knowing is. That pressure. I know there's something there, but I don't know what it is. That pressure. See, the head center is really something. I mean, it's, we're in a pressure sandwich. It's what it is to be a human being. You got the root pressure from below, and you got the head pressure from above, and you're under pressure. And because of our attachment to mind, when the mind says there's something to know, you get lost. You can get lost. You may never come back. You may never come back. It's about the thinker. You know the thinker? The 6124. This thinker. The hell are they thinking about? They're waiting for something to happen. You can see within this construct of this stream where we have this pressure that the ajna center is where it all gets transformed, because here is where it gets conceptualized. And if you want to see gates under pressure, look at the gates that face any pressure center. The 9 gates that face the root, the 3 gates that face the head. These gates are under incredible pressure because they're the catcher, They're the ones that take the first load of the pressure. And their job basically is to handle the pressure. That's their job. So you have the 24. Now, 24th gate is an interesting gate because it's one of the gates of the right angle cross of the 4 ways. And the right angle cross of the 4 ways is one of the great markers in the wheel because it marks the end of each quarter of the wheel. It is one of the ways. And when you're looking at the 24th gate, the way is the way of return. Now, most people don't really grasp that. It's a great name. Because you see, the individual process, because it is a pulse process, it goes and planes. If you've ever seen an emotional individual person, you will see that it's very hard to think of them as being on a wave because they plane until something happens, until knowing happens, until mutation happens. You know, the magic of music is the space between the notes. It's the same kind of thing. You're waiting for the magic. So the 24 is the return. What does this mean? It means this. Around and 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 around. And you can't stop it until something happens. Over and over and over and over and over again. Like the earworm, you know, the lick of music that you can't get out of your head over and over and over and over and over until bang. See, this is the dilemma of individuality, that individuality is not, knowing is not based on anything. It has no grounding. It has no grounding. What the 24 can do is that it can catch, you know? And yet if you're a 24, think about what that means for you. Your acoustic mind that's babbling away, talking about the same stuff over and over and over and over. And because it's individual, it can be deeply melancholic and make you sad. And behind all that is the pressure of the 61 that says, yes, but I know there's something in this that we can know. Think now, think. But it's not the thinking, it's time. Oh, what a curse it is to be locked into the construct. To not be the passenger, but to be the personality strung out on all of this. To be caught up in the way this gate works and that gate works and this channel works and that channel works. It's about watching it. Freeing yourself from what it can bring you when you are not self. And its impact can be so negative because it becomes distorted. This going around and around and around and around, if you do not know what's going on, it'll drive you nuts. And it's all sound. I mean, yes, there is the difference between those who have it defined and it is conscious and those who have it defined and it is unconscious. Obviously, it is deeply, deeply different in the way in which it is experienced. The phenomena is the same, but the attachment is different. If it's your personality, you're deeply attached to all of that. That's who you think you think you think you think you are. And there you are, caught in the loop. And you can't get out until something happens. But if you're not self, you're going to try to make that thing happen. And you're just going to get depressed. We are all under pressure. That 70% of humanity that has an open head center, think about the pressure that they're under in the amplification of the pressure. 70% of humanity under this pressure to think about things that don't matter. Okay, I won't think about things that matter. I'll think about this because I'm under pressure. How easy it is for the life to be distorted. In the ajna, you catch and you pitch. That's baseball terminology, by the way. You know? The 24 catches the ball, and the 43, whoop, throws it. That's what they do. And this process between the 24 and the 43, I call it the inner ear, you know, the third ear. That would be kind of cute in one of these Indian drawings, you know, instead of an eye there, you put an ear there. Yeah. I mean, this is what the 43 is, in a sense. You know, it's this inner hearing. Remember that the individual mind's very, very different from the collective mind. The collective mind is visual. It's visual. It has patterns and movements that it can relate to. This is all acoustic. It is an inner voice. It is the inner dialogue. In the 43, in breakthrough lies the inner dialogue. You know, I'm a 43-23 myself. I'm also a 61. And I have all three of them unconscious. So I don't experience that. And yet every time I open up my mouth to teach, I'm so deeply aware of all that stuff being processed. See, the 43 comes to some kind of verbal concept. It comes to a verbal concept. It packages it verbally. You'll see that the 17 and the 11, the collectives on either side, don't do that. They don't. And it creates a very strange relationship between the 43 and the 23. See, these gates that are in the throat, that point upward, that are the expression of their particular streams, are perhaps some of the most extraordinary gates in the construct. They're metamorphic. They're metamorphic. Remember that the throat center, that its biological association is with the thyroid system. Everything having to do with metabolism and metamorphosis. And it is something to understand about these gates. We're looking at the 23, but on either side, the 62 and the 56, to understand that these three gates along the top of the throat center, that these are extraordinarily important for us as human beings, because they are the gates that make it possible for us to be, in that sense, human beings. They provide us with intellectual, mental expression. It provides us with a platform to be able to communicate with each other at a very sophisticated level. And in order to be able to do that, everything that originates in the Ajna center cannot just flow through, but has to go through a metamorphic process in order to be expressed. The collective transforms the visual to language. But individuality has to do translation. It has to go from the inner audio and get it out to an outer audio. It's a translation. I remember seeing that as a school teacher, young children. If you have the 43-23, one of the most natural things for you to say is, I know. It is the most natural thing to say, I know. And so you're a teacher and you ask a question, and there's all these little hands going up in the air and they're going, I know, I know, I know, you know, yeah, I know, I know. And if you point to them, they don't have the translation. I mean, they know, but they don't have the translation. Because you got to get the translation from the audio in the 43, and it's a different language. Oh, it may seem like it's the same language. It isn't. There's nothing talking in there. Those are not words. It is a frequency phenomena, a way frequencies being interpreted on the inside. But that has to come out expressed in language. And you get all these, I know, and they don't. I know, but I can't tell you. There's a lot of 43-23s in the world. There's a lot of 43-23s in the world because it is a definition that is in opposition in the wheel. So sun, earth, north node, south node, other combinations. The 4323 is very common. There's a lot of people in the world going, I know, and they don't. They don't in the sense that they cannot express it. They can't. You see, one of the most important things about the 23rd gate splitting apart is about the ability to learn how to express oneself. The channel 4323 is the channel of genius to freak. That terminology, genius to freak, it's a little dramatic, but it gives you a spectrum. But it's important to understand what is meant by the freak. The freak is the one who says, I know, but I can't explain it to you. Because these are the ones that ultimately are ignored. They're the ones that people begin to look at sort of like, Because what is the point of that? This I know, but I cannot explain it to you. This is the great dilemma of the individual mind. It's its great dilemma. And of course, so much of this has to do with the nature of how somebody is, living their life. In terms of, whether or not they're operating correctly according to their design, it's going to be very different, the way in which this mental capacity can be developed. But it's something to grasp how difficult it is. Otherwise, we would have, hundreds and hundreds of millions of people on this planet who really knew, and could explain it to you. I had a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, many years ago, musician, 4323. And he had just got all kinds of new recording equipment and all kinds of tech stuff, and he was really into the tech stuff, all that stuff. And he was going away for the weekend, and I like to write music, and I had written something, and I wanted to record it. And I said to him, listen, could you explain to me how I, get all this set up so that I can do recording while you're gone? Now, here was a classic example of somebody who knew and couldn't explain. Those people who know and can't teach. There are people who know and can't teach. There are people who know and can't share. There are people who know and can't give, And the dilemma is here. We're all trapped in the vehicle. I mean, this is what it's all about. This is the limitation. It is limitation. It is something to grasp about the nature of what it is to be individual and to have an individual mind. That it is not enough, any of you out there who have an individual mind, it is not enough to say, I know. It will never be enough to say, I know. You have to be able to explain your knowing. That's metamorphosis. And of course, this is the great gift that the individual mind can bring to humanity. That is, it brings something new. It brings something that is not part of the collective. It brings something that may, in fact, enrich ultimately the collective. It brings mutation. It's why it doesn't happen all the time. It's why there's so many 4323s who say, I know and they don't. I know and they can't. But it is so important for us that this is a function that is enriched. The 4323 brings efficiency to the world. Our ability to innovate, our ability to be able to move forward, our ability to be able to enhance our way of life is deeply dependent on the efficiency of this channel. And yet the vast majority of human beings simply run around going, I know. And they go, I know, out of their not self, after all. The other side of this is its potential beauty. I spoke about the chemistry of individuality. It is one of those subjects that's very, very important in design. The understanding of individual chemistry, individual circuitry is the largest circuitry in the whole body graph. It covers many, many different areas. and every aspect of individuality, because of its chemistry, brings the potential of melancholy. But the other side of melancholy is the muse. This is a deeply, deeply, deeply creative stream, potentially. A deeply creative mind, potentially. But remember something again about the nature of the creative mind, genius to freak. If you cannot explain it, all the pressure in the 61 ultimately is the pressure that the 23 has to deal with. Ultimately it's the 23 that's got to take this whole flow and has to translate it into something that the other gets. Oh, it's not easy. It isn't. The only thing that makes me really different from a lot of other people who had bizarre experiences is that I know how to communicate what I know. This is the whole thing about the 4323. This is when you know whether or not you're okay or not. Now place it all in context. I am not my 4323. I'm not. I'm a passenger in a vehicle that happens to have the 4323, because that's really the way it is. It is a fascinating phenomena. This is what I share with you. What I share with you is the phenomena of my 4323, my unconscious 4323. That I never know what I'm going to say, that I have no preparation. And yet at the same time, this is the process of the 4323. This translation mechanism that's taking place, this explaining mechanism that's taking place. When people didn't understand in the beginning of my process what was going on, I was really the freak. By the time I've spent 21 years teaching it, well, it's another story. So one of the things to grasp about the nature of enjoying your individuality and the creative potential that lies within your individuality is get out of your mind. Stop living your life through your mind. Stop making all those decisions with your mind. Free yourself so you can watch the process, that you can see the realization yourself. You see, the moment that your mind is not involved in your decision making, any 4323 is going to be able to come to grips with certain aspects of their knowing and be able to explain them, because they are going to have the perceptive tools that are going to allow that to take place, because they're not wasting all of their mental energy on wondering about what they have to do in the next 10 minutes. It's always the same story in human design. It doesn't matter what stream we're going to look at. The mechanisms are fascinating. This unique pressure, this pressure to know, this pressure to know. And even if you get the knowing, it's not enough. It's the way the whole game's played. It's not enough. Push forward. Get it finally out. Express it. Because if you don't express it, it's not in the world. If you can't explain it, it will never live. It will never spread. It will never become part of the Maya. And the easiest way to do that is by being correct. The easiest way to do that is to understand that you're a natural at it, if you just allow it. Because that's all we ever have to do. All we have to do is surrender. Allow your life to guide you, and sit back, be a good passenger, and watch it. And by the way, I know. And I can explain it too. Bye for now.
Yes, I'm wondering, never asking why. I just see inside.